What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Rhonda Smith. With me today, I'm talking with Bluesprings Mayor, Mayor Carson Ross. How you doing, Mayor?
I'm great, being in the presence of a constituent,
Yes.
fellow Bluespringian.
Is that such a word? A fellow? Yes,
I mean,
I
I
am.
invent words when there's not one that already exists.
I like that. Hey, I'm a straightforward shooter, so I like to get straight into the...
So am I.
All right.
Let's do it.
So in a progressive community that hadn't seen a person of color in such a prestigious position, tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to your position today.
Well, I've been in this business for over 30 years.
Yes.
You know, I began back in the, matter of fact, I ran for office in 1979 for the Bluesprings Board of Aldermen, which was the same time Emmanuel Cleaver was running for the Kansas City City Council. At that time, he made it, and unfortunately, I lost by 33 votes with a field of 4 people running. But he immediately got everyone's attention that this guy that's living in Bluesprings ran for the Board of Aldermen. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Bluesprings was 99.999% non-African American. Exactly. And came that close. I think it was a curiosity is, what is this guy all about? Mm-hmm. You know, let's just further explore him. And meantime, my wife had worked as the first African American employee for the city of Bluesprings before they had a city manager form of government. Mm-hmm. For Dale Baumgartner, who was mayor then and went on to become Jackson County executive. Mm. So he knew me. Mm-hmm. Also, and he was leaving the mayor's office in '79, going to become Jackson County executive. Mm-hmm. So the person that was elected mayor and the person that beat me by 33 votes immediately befriended me. Because it was a 1-year unexpired term, and that person would have to run again, right. And very likely I would have been the opponent, maybe not in the field of 4, and I probably had a good shot of winning it this time. So they immediately befriended me, and they created at that time the very first City of Bluesprings Personnel Board, a 3-member board, and they asked me if I'd be chairman of the board.
Oh, yes.
And I accepted that position. In meantime, now Jackson County Executive Dale Baumgartner had appointed me to the United Services of Greater Kansas City Board. Mm-hmm. So what am I doing? I'm building a resume.
Right.
And so that next year passed. I did not run against a person that had beat me out. But the next year, because there were 2-year terms, the person that had the 2-year term decided they didn't run, so they came to me and said, hey, it's time for you to run. So I ran and I won. Mm-hmm. And I guess long story short, the rest is history. I went on to become Mayor Pro Tem, and I went on the Missouri Municipal League Board of Directors. I served on the National League of Cities Boards, and what I'm telling you is when I get involved, I take it seriously and I'm totally engaged. I don't take things just for the title, I take it to do the job.
Wow.
And so then I was encouraged in 1988 because there was going to be an opening in the Missouri House of Representatives in the district that I lived in. Mm-hmm. That I was approached that this person was going to run for lieutenant governor and they needed a candidate, and they had been watching me, but they didn't know my party affiliation. Mm-hmm. So they asked if we could meet for coffee, and we did, and we started talking, and you know, they liked what I was doing and my leadership style and the things I was doing. And the question finally came up that they wanted to ask me all along. What is your party affiliation? Mm-hmm. And I said, I have none. Their eyes got big. You're not a Democrat? No, I'm an independent. I believe in the person, not the party. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you about our party, because some of the things you've demonstrated fits right in with our party. Mm-hmm. And it was a group of Republicans. So I said, let me think about it. And certainly, I have a job, I have a family, and I can do the Board of Aldermen because I can do that and I can still work. But to go to Jefferson City, I'm not sure how that would play, because you're gone 4.5 months out of the year, and I'm not sure my employer would go along with that. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing that I didn't mention, I'd been working for Hallmark Cards since 1966. Wow. That's when I first became an employee, and I left and went to the military, went to Vietnam, came back and went back to Hallmark. And also, in between this time period, I went back to school and finished my college degree at Rockhurst University, because I had 2 years from University of Arkansas. PAM left now, back then it was Arkansas A&M.
Right.
So I finished up my education. So I said, I'm not sure this will work. If you want to talk to my employer, you're fine. He said, yeah, we'll talk to your employer. Mm-hmm. Okay. Knowing that, hey, no, I'm not sure this is going to work. work. So I just stay on the Board of Aldermen, and I'll probably run for mayor of Blue Springs. Now, this is back in the 80s. So I got a call one day from the president of the company. At the time was Irv Hockaday, and he said, "Can you come up and see me?" And I did. And he said, "People have been calling Dunn interested in you running for state representative." And I said, "Yeah, they mentioned that, but I told them, you know, I got a job, I got a family I got to take care of." He said, "Well, if you're interested in it and you run and you get elected, we'll work with you."
Wow. That is very interesting. That's a rarity. That is a
That is a rarity, and you know, it's just something that doesn't happen every day, and I wish more companies would take that into consideration.
Sure.
Because it's a public service. And Hallmark has always been public service minded. You know, so there was nothing new because, again, I was serving on different boards and stuff, you know, leading into that. So, but anyway, I ran, I won, and I continued to maintain a job. They readjusted things so I could still maintain my job, and I became a member of Missouri House of Representatives as an African American state representative, which was a rarity. Became Republican whip my second term. Eventually, and became vice chairman of Missouri Legislative Black Caucus. So I did a lot of different things, and there were two things that, and I was involved in a lot of things, but two things I was kind of known for, and it was law enforcement and veterans. To the point to where I had the reputation, if it has to do with veterans, you'll find Representative Ross fingerprints. So anyway, those were passions of mine, and I always served on those kinds of committees while I was in Jefferson City. And back then, I was in the minority party. Republican was totally outnumbered, almost kind of the reverse of what it is today in the Missouri House, because I think it was 40-something Republicans, 118 or whatever Democrats at the time. But I was able to get as much done as most people because of relationships. You know, you have to have relationships with people. And I think maybe some of the black Democrats were suspicious of me at first because I was a Republican, but they soon found out that I'm a man of principle.
Right.
So we were able to do that and be successful. So anyway, so I did 14 years in the Missouri House of Representatives, which you can't do anymore. You have a term limit, 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate, and then you have everybody vying for the Senate. At the end of my term, because I already had 6 years before term limits went into effect, I ran for the Missouri Senate, and I got beat in a primary because Bluespring was a small portion of that Senate district, and most of it was Lee Summit, and my opponent was from Lee Summit, and so. But you know, God has a way of planning the things and make things work the way, not my will, but His will be done. And I can see, as I look back on it, I can see why I'm glad I didn't win that race, because there were some things I needed to take care of.
Wow.
So anyway, people started wanting me to become mayor.
Right.
And I rejected it. And they said, "With your experience, you should run. We need you." And I said, "No, you don't need me. You know, find somebody else." And so I resisted it for a while, and then one day I decided, I said, let me take stock of what's going on in the community that I love and I've been in for a lot of years. And I looked around and I saw that the city of Blue Springs needed help because Lee Summit and Eastern Independence was eating our lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, we were having sales tax leakage. People bring dollars they earn in Blue Springs and they take it somewhere else and spend it. I call it sales tax leakage. So I said, maybe I should, and the wife and I talked about it, and I said, yes, I will run.
So this, you having your whole family, your kids, your wife, I mean, everybody gets involved in this decision.
Primarily my wife, because at this time, my children are all adults.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but when I decided to run for mayor, I mean, at this point now, we've got grandchildren.
Wow.
And so it's basically my wife, getting her okay, that it's okay, because she had experienced me being gone for 14 years in Jefferson City.
Exactly.
You know, so it's a commitment on her part too. So she consented to it, and I told the people that were trying to recruit me or seeking me out to run that I will do it, and I ran and I won. I won convincingly. And one of the first things I did is I got with my city administration. I got with all the department heads, and I said, you know, some of you know of me and some of you know me. Well, number one priority, customer service.
Right.
I don't want to be receiving calls in the mayor's office because someone is not treating people with respect. That's number one. Then the number two thing, one of the first things I did is I know the importance of community policing. All you gotta do is look at Ferguson right now, and you can see why community policing is very important. It's about relationships.
Right.
So I appointed a task force comprised of, at the time, a sitting judge who is now my prosecuting attorney. He retired from the bench. I appointed a person that I had served with on the board of aldermen, who was a former police officer in Kansas City, and I appointed the very first African American police officer for the city of Bluesprings that I helped get prior to me leaving, going to Jefferson City.
Wow.
So I asked those three to take a look at the police department, take a look and come back with some recommendations, and they came back with a number of recommendations, and we put all those recommendations into place. One of the primary ones was to reinstitute something we started back before I left the Board of Aldermen, and having a Public Safety Citizens Advisory Board to work with the police department. We reinstituted that, and that's up and it's going and it's working well. You know, they oversee the police department budgets and all that stuff, and they're the public eye and voice of the community to the police department. Then I started talking to the Department of Justice and others about the lack of Bluesprings having a Human Relations Commission.
Right.
So we sought out to do that, and now we have a Human Relations Commission in place. All of those are components to community policing and people knowing that they have someone to go to. There are resources out there that you can work with, and if there's a problem, if someone talks about a problem they're having at the police department, I immediately jump on it and get it to my police chief, and we look into it to see if it's real, if it's make-believe. You know, sometimes you only hearing one side of the story.
Right.
I want both sides of the story so we can make a judgment on what's happening. So it's worked well for us.
So what you've created is you've created what they've called a mock shift. And just in the event that this happens, in the event that that happens, in the event of anything happen, you've created.
We've got things in place to deal with those, because if things go unchecked, they brew, they simmer, and pretty soon they're going to boil, and you're going to have an explosion. So we try to be preventive and proactive rather than reactive.
Right.
And so I think that's what's important in our community, and you know, it's worked well. One of the things I do as mayor, and a lot of children know me because I go to every DARE graduation.
Yes, you do.
I go to every one of them, and I speak to the students. I'll have students that will tug on their parents and say, "That's the mayor," because they know who I am. So you know, it's just one of those things that I believe is important, and so we do those things.
One of the things that I'm stepping in the sand, I've gone to your website, the Bluesprings government website, and you will be able to see the mayor's newsletters. If you take a look at the time that he's been in there, you will see all the DARE graduations you've gone to, the junior ROTCs that you've gone to. I mean, it's been such an outpour of all the things, that the events. And it really is built around our school children that you have been to the event. And some of the events for the adults, you know, like the historical factors and all that. Yeah, and that's great. But it's really shaping that young mind at an early age.
Absolutely.
That you have been there.
You know, one of the other things that makes Bluespring successful is the partnerships. You know, we don't operate in a vacuum. I mean, you have the city of Bluesprings, you have the school district, you have the Chamber of Commerce, you have the Economic Development Corporation, you have Central Jackson County Fire Protection District. We all work together for the good of the community, and I think that's why we're successful. And as you know, living in Bluesprings, we have restaurants, we have department stores now that I put a tourniquet on that sales tax leakage.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we're not done yet. We still have things going on. You know, the voters of Bluesprings approved, the first year I was mayor, two major initiatives. One was to deal with the growth that we were having in South Bluesprings, because we're served by two sewer districts, Little Blue Valley Sewer Districts, if you're west of 7 Highway, or Snabar, which we're part owners with the Green Valley if you live east of 7 Highway. Well, to prepare for all the growth, this is on the east side, we spent $20-something million in upgrading, bringing to EPA's and the DNR standards our sewer system and expanding it so it can accommodate the growth. The other thing we did was for some infrastructure improvements to roads. We connected Liggett Road to Moreland School Road. Over 5,000 cars travel that now. We improved 7 Highway in Coburn, which is a state highway, on Bluesprings dollars. And kind of the crowning jewel is we put in one of the first ones in this area, a diverging diamond interchange at Woods Chapel and I-70 on our dime, and the beautiful landscaping that went around it. So we've done those things, and we had to go back to the voters because the federal government had a mandate that we were supposed to put a new operable radio system in where different agencies can talk after 911. That was a federal unfunded mandate. You do it, but you find the money to do it. We're not doing it for you.
Wow.
And to put our system in was about $13 million. Well, this mayor didn't have $13 million sitting in his desk drawer. So we went to the voters and explained to them what we wanted to do. So they passed a 1/2-cent dedicated sales tax for public safety, and it can only be spent on public safety. So we added police officers, we had added some equipment, we put that radio system in on time, which you got clarity in talking and communicating, and you can talk to other agencies if there is a multi-jurisdictional issue that you're dealing with. One of the things we said is we've outgrown the public safety building that we built when I was on the Board of Aldermen in the 80s. And we've grown tremendously since then. So we are right now under construction is that public safety building. If you've been downtown, you'll notice that public safety building all the steel is up right now. And so we're working on that, and temporarily we're down at the at a piece of property that we bought, and we bought this property. It was the old lumber yard in anticipation of commuter rail. And I'm glad we purchased it because we bought it at the right price. But since we're going through the transition of the construction of the old building, the best way to do it is get everybody out.
Right.
So we have police department personnel scattered throughout the cities. But one of the main things where we have our council meetings and our court system is down at what we call now the municipal annex down by the railroad track. And that's a temporary thing until hopefully by mid-summer we will have the other building completed, and we'll be back in the public safety building, and we can resume televising our city council meetings and planning commission meetings.
Wow.
You know, one of the other things I'm very proud of is I've appointed more blacks to every board and commission that was just unheard of before I became mayor. So we've got that going on. So it's just exciting times in Blue Springs.
And just living in Blue Springs, I definitely see the difference. I see the community outcry, the togetherness that Blue Springs is exhibiting. It's really phenomenal.
So I like to think that we're a city on the move. We have Kerry Casey, I don't know, director of the fathering program, and also he had worked at Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's a motivational speaker. I have a mayor's prayer breakfast every year, and he was the speaker this last time, and we've had some very notable speakers from throughout the whole United States. It's just so happened Kerry is local, and we were happy to have him. We brought the traveling Vietnam wall that heals the Blue Springs.
Yes.
You know, and again, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and so that was important to us. You know, and as we talk about our schools, again, it's a partnership. The Blue Springs Marching Band, the Golden Regiment Band, is going to the Rose Bowl for the second time since I've been mayor this year. They've been to Macy's Day, Blue Springs South Jaguars. They've won some state championships when it comes to music, and both football teams have won state championships.
They've been phenomenal.
So
yes.
it's just a good community to live in, and I couldn't think of any other place I'd rather be.
So, with all that's going on, that's going to be happening in the downtown area of Blue Springs, the new buildings, what's left?
Well, no, we have another group that's been created, and because they wanted to revitalize downtown. Most shopping centers, as you look at Adams Dairy Landing, you have your big box national restaurants and department stores. But the personality of your city is really downtown.
Right. Yes,
That's where City Hall is. That's where our public safety building that we're renovating and expanding is. We have a group called Downtown Alive, and they are very actively involved. They have an executive director, and if you notice now, we have you go downtown Blue Springs at night, and it's hard to find a parking place because you got Brewers, which is a very nice restaurant, and bar, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We have the pizza shop now that's
Pizza shop.
open.
Mm-hmm.
One of my big disappointments was the post office decided to leave downtown to move out on South Avenue, which I think was a mistake, and I fought it, but I lost.
Mm-hmm.
I even got the federal delegation involved, and we all lost. The post office does what it wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm hoping that we'd take a negative and turn it into a positive, that someone will purchase that building and put something else in there that will be attraction downtown Blue Springs.
Family entertainment. Yes.
Yeah, some kind of family entertainment or some kind of entertainment to give people someplace and a reason to come.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there have been some projects that I've viewed, and I get projects presented to me all the time. And a lot of them I can't talk about it because it's too preliminary.
Sure.
But we envisioned that with commuter rail, that we would be able to put your European style, maybe living quarters on the top and restaurants down beneath downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Then, because there's a generation of people that would rather catch rail than to be stuck on I-70 driving, because then they can read, they can do work, they can use a computer, they can do anything they want to do. That we would have that commuter rail there, they could live downtown Blue Springs and still have all the benefits of downtown Kansas City. We haven't given up on that. You know, all the Eastern Jackson County mayors and Mike Sanders, we continue to work on how we can go about making that happen. So we're visionaries.
Awesome.
So we're just
These are
trying to
things
make,
that-
and again, we look at this as a regional thing. I'm very proud of Blue Springs, but I work with the mayor of Independence and the mayor of Lee Summit, the mayor of Grandview and Oak Grove, Green Valley, Sly. He's involved in a lot of it. We serve on different boards together. I mean, I'm past president of Missouri Municipal League and still on the board. I co-chair the Eastern Jackson County Betterment Council with Mayor Rhodes from Lee Summit. We're on the Blue Valley Sewer District, which I told you that feeds Blue Springs, Independence, Grandview, Raytown. I'm an alternate on the board of directors for the Mid-America Regional Council. I serve on a Toll Transportation and Policy Committee. So, I mean, we're actively engaged and we interact. As a matter of fact, we even interact beyond the state line. Every year I'm invited to come and be a panelist on the Johnson County leadership class.
Wow.
With the mayors of Johnson County.
And this is outside of Missouri.
Right, yeah, you got Missouri and Kansas working together, mayors.
Right.
I work with the mayor of Overland Park and Lenexa and Olathe, you know, and the unified government. We all interact, we know each other, we work together, and on, you know, on our side, it's the mayor of Raytown, Green Valley, Lee Summit, Independence, Riverside, Mayor Rose from Riverside, you know, is very actively involved. So it's just one big thing, because we think that our competition is not among ourselves.
Right.
The greater Kansas City competition is against Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, Dallas. That's our competition, not with each other. And that's why we're trying to minimize this Missouri trying to get jobs from Kansas and Kansas trying to get jobs from Missouri. Let's work together for the good of this region. It's a regional thing.
Wow. That's a
So-
great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. So,
Yeah.
being elected first in 2008 and then again 2012, it
Right.
brings the obvious question.
2016, huh?
2016, what a wonderful year. Talk to me about your reelection.
Well, there's still some things to do. We've accomplished a lot, but there's still much to do. There's a song, there's much to do, there's work on every hand. And so we have some other things we want to do. And, you know, and as long as God blesses me to be able to do it, as most people know, and we don't try to keep it a secret, my wife is dealing with some health issues, but she wouldn't want me to do anything other than what I'm doing.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So on some of the buildings that are going on in Blue Springs, tell me a little bit about what am I seeing on the west side of Blue Springs, nearing the highway, near Highway 70. There's a lot of building going on over there.
Well, you know, one of the things we want to do, and a lot of time people focus on Adams Dairy Parkway because that's the big project. That's where a lot of stuff's going on. And I get the comments, well, what about the rest of the city? We are doing, and again, the city does not develop a thing. It's investors that develop. Only thing we can do is encourage and help them through the process. In addition to Adams Dairy Parkway and the activity that's going on there, Downtown, we just talked about. We got
Right.
activity going on downtown that we strongly encourage and we support.
Right.
There's activity going on the western part off of West Chapel Road, as you talked about. Right now, we're expanding that road on down to the railroad track to where you got the diversion diamond at I-70 and West Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
But on down at Walnut, now we're putting in a roundabout, if you've been over that way lately.
Yes.
Okay, that's gonna do nothing but enhance our economic development opportunities. CVS had vision and they put their store in early on after it happened. But I guarantee you there's gonna be some other development in that
Sure.
particular area as well. We just recently, we just had a council meeting last night, but the preceding council meeting, we had a proposal, and it was one of the longest council meetings I've had since I've been mayor. I believe in getting you in there and getting you out no more than an hour. We're done. I don't like these midnight meetings.
Right.
We had a 3-hour meeting, which is unusual for me because I keep the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get the comments all the time, when are you gonna do something with White Oak Shopping Center at 40
Yes.
and 7?
Yes.
There have been a number of proposals through the years and all of it just kind of fell through. We finally have something that we think is going to happen because we put the necessary tools in place that developer could use, and it is to raise that blighted area.
Mm-hmm.
And the price chopper across the street would be able to move over, reposition Beauty Brands and
Right.
Radio Shack.
Right.
Also, the proposal as I look at it today, and again, things change.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at another senior housing component in there.
That's what I
Now,
wanted
now
to
one
hear.
of one of the things that if you notice in Blue Springs, one of our areas that's been void. We've got nice houses. We have not enough probably quality apartments. And when I became mayor, I put a moratorium on apartments because we needed more housing. But now we're looking at high-end apartments where people don't want to get out and do the mowing and all that. But senior housing is an area that we've been lacking in. People have to
Very
go to
much
Lee
so.
Summit or Independence or someplace. If you notice off Adams Area Parkway and Artie Myers right now, there's a big complex, and we don't call them complex, we call it a community. There's a senior housing project that's going in right now that will have, I believe, 76 independent living units, 40-something assisted living units, and 20-something memory care units. So it will be a community, and it's called Arrow Senior Living, and you can Google them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's financially supported by the O'Reilly Foundation.
Really.
Yeah, so it's got the backing behind it. That project, I think, should be completed by next summer, by the time we're getting done with our public safety building. If you take a look on I-70 between West Chapel and 7 Highway now to the north, between the old junior college, which is the Paul Consiglio School District building, you see a complex going in.
Mm-hmm.
That's senior housing, independent living.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and right behind Walmart on Artie Myers, there's a smaller senior living unit complex going in. Quality of life, and I want to make sure I don't miss this. We talked about infrastructure that we addressed since I've been mayor. We talked about public safety that I talked about since I've been mayor. And the other thing that I consistently say in my State of the City address, we need quality of life issues addressed. And we used to have one of the premier park system in the nation. But now grant money is dried up, and so it's competing with every other department.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to go in and make some improvements and enhancement to our park system. But in addition to that, we had an issue on the ballot in November last year that went out to defeat because the translational medicine issue that the county had on there that went out in flame defeat.
Mm-hmm.
It was a half-cent dedicated parks tax, because we were one of the few communities in the whole state that don't have a dedicated parks tax. And the thing with sales tax is not just your residents paying for it, everybody shopping Blue Springs paying for it. But we were able, thanks to a former park commissioner that gave us a substantial grant, and we found the other monies within our budget system. We purchased Sports City, the big complex there off of Coronado, where your Texas Roadhouse is, that big sports complex. The city now owns that. So we're programming that and hopefully have that open next summer.
Wow.
That would take care probably 2/3 of what would have been in the community center that we were trying to pass. Plus the community, that dedicated tax would also take care of deferred maintenance on existing parkland and all. And we own some land banks, some parkland that we need to develop. That'll take care of 2/3. So at some point, we gotta come back and say, okay, there's one major component missing in our park system. Although we own Centennial Pool up by the school district that the school district manages for us, we need an indoor type water system, aquatics. You know, with the lazy river, with all the things, because we have some plans that are just fantastic. You can do some wall climbing and dive off into the water. And like I told them when we were processing all this, and that's well and good for young folks, but I need something for old folks like me.
Yes.
I want some warm water. So anyway, it would have all those components in it. So at some point in time, we'll come back to the voters and say, okay, this is one of the things that's missing from us in our system, and let's see if we can't do that, and then I think we'll be complete.
Wow.
So, you know, it's been fun being mayor, something I have a passion for. You know, again, I've been in this business for over 30-something years, and we just like to get things done. I don't do it for the title. I've had more titles than you can shake a stick at, so that's not important to me. The thing's important to me is getting the job done and making it better than I found it.
Getting it done.
Getting it done.
From 2008 till now, and hopefully in the next years to come, Bluesprings is on the move, and they're steadily improving thanks to the mayor and his committee. It's What's Up Kansas City, and I'm your host, Rhonda Smith. It's been wonderful, and remember, one day at a time. Thank you.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.